XRP, Financial Horizon. XRP, price prediction for June 24th. Right now, XRP is sitting at a price level that will either hold this market together or break it wide open. And in the next few minutes, you're going to understand exactly why June 24th is a date that every XRP holder needs to be paying close attention to. Welcome to XRP Financial Horizon. I'm your host, and today we're going to walk through everything the chart is telling us right now, what the key levels mean, what's actually at stake, and how you should be thinking about the next 24 to 48 hours as an informed XRP watcher. Let's get straight into it. XRP closed the last session at $1.09, which is down roughly 3.5% on the day. That number sounds rough on the surface, and honestly, it is not a great look for the daily chart. But here's the thing. If you are only watching the daily candle, you are looking at the wrong picture entirely. The daily move is just noise right now. The story that actually matters is playing out one level higher, on the weekly chart, and the weekly chart is giving us something that a lot of people are completely overlooking. That 1.13 support level, the one that has been on watch for weeks, is still holding. No confirmed break, no weekly close below it. It is battered, it is being tested, but it is not cracked. And in technical analysis, holding a key level under pressure is not a neutral event. It actually means something. To understand why 1.13 matters so much, you have to go back to when XRP was trading above 1.30. The call back then was pretty clear. If XRP loses $1.30 on a weekly closing basis, the next natural landing zone would be $1.13. That is exactly what played out, almost down to the cent. The market followed the technical roadmap precisely. So now we find ourselves at $1.13, and the question everyone is asking is this the floor, or is there more pain ahead? The honest answer is that this level is the dividing line between two very different near-term outcomes. As long as 1.13 holds on a weekly close, the structure of the current situation remains manageable. The moment it breaks and fails to recover, the next conversation becomes about 0.87 to $0.90, and nobody on this channel wants to be having that conversation. Something else has been developing on the 4-hour chart that deserves a proper explanation, because it was generating a lot of concern just a few days ago, and the situation has changed pretty significantly. There was a potential head and shoulders pattern forming, a classic bearish reversal setup. For those unfamiliar, this is a chart pattern with 3 peaks, a smaller one on the left, a larger one in the middle called the head, and then a smaller one on the right matching the first. When the price drops below the baseline connecting the 2 smaller peaks, traders consider that a confirmed bearish signal. It was shaping up as a real concern. But here is what has happened since then. The pattern is falling apart before it ever triggered. The recent bounce pushed the right shoulder so far above where it needed to be that the whole formation has lost its structural validity. You cannot call it a head and shoulders anymore when the right side no longer resembles the left. The setup simply did not confirm. What is replacing that failed bearish setup on the 4-hour chart is actually something more constructive. There is an ascending support line, a trend line connecting a series of higher lows, and it happens to land right around the same 1.13 zone we have been discussing. That is not a coincidence. What it means technically is that 2 completely separate frameworks, the weekly support level and the 4-hour ascending trend line, are both converging at the same price. When the market builds that kind of layered support from different angles, it tells you that $1.13 is not just an arbitrary number someone circled on a chart. It is a price level the market genuinely respects and is actively defending. Now let's talk about the one variable that sits above everything else right now, Bitcoin. There is simply no way to give you an honest XRP outlook without talking about Bitcoin, because XRP has been tracking BTC's moves with very tight correlation throughout this entire market cycle. That has not changed. Whatever Bitcoin does over the next couple of sessions is going to directly shape what happens to XRP and that $1.13 level. If Bitcoin continues to stabilize and push higher, even modestly, XRP should follow, and that weekly support should see less pressure. If Bitcoin reverses and breaks lower again, then $1.13 is going to face its most significant test yet. Understanding that dynamic is not optional. It is the central input for any realistic short-term XRP outlook right now. Here is something worth sitting with for a moment. When people talk about important support levels, they often discuss them like they are permanent fixtures. They are not. The 1.13 level is important precisely because of what it has survived. It has been tested, retested, and pressured repeatedly over recent weeks. Every time it holds, the level actually builds more credibility in the eyes of market participants. Traders and algorithms alike watch these levels, and the more times a price holds its support, the more orders tend to cluster around it. That self-reinforcing dynamic is part of why it keeps holding, but it also means that if the level ever does break convincingly, the move lower tends to be sharp and fast, because all those orders get swept at once. That is the double-edged nature of strong support levels that everyone watching this market needs to understand. Let's also be straightforward about the broader market environment because context matters. The current weakness in XRP is not happening in isolation. The entire crypto market has been dealing with selling pressure, and XRP, like most altcoins, has not been immune to that. Broader macroeconomic conditions, risk appetite in traditional markets, and Bitcoin's own struggles have all fed into the current environment. So when you see XRP down 3.5% on the day, it is not a XRP-specific crisis. It is the market breathing through a difficult period. That is a meaningfully different situation than if XRP were declining while everything else held up, which would signal something more structurally wrong with the asset itself. One thing that sometimes gets lost during bearish stretches is the longer-term picture for XRP. This is not a token that is sitting still from a development and adoption standpoint. Ripple's network continues to grow, cross-border payment use cases are expanding, and the regulatory landscape in the United States, which has historically been one of the biggest clouds hanging over XRP's valuation, has been improving. The Clarity Act has been working its way through the legislative process, and that is a bill that carries real implications for how XRP and the broader crypto market get treated under US law going forward. These are not things that show up on a 4-hour chart, but they absolutely matter for anyone thinking about XRP over a horizon longer than the next few days. So when you combine the fundamental backdrop with the technical picture, here is what you actually have. An asset that is holding critical weekly support in a market where the broader bearish pressure is macro-driven rather than asset-specific, with a short-term bearish chart pattern that just failed to confirm, while regulatory progress in the background continues to build. That is not a picture of collapse. That is a picture of an asset navigating a difficult environment with its key structure still intact. Whether that structure holds going into and through June 24th depends heavily on Bitcoin, and on whether sellers can actually produce a confirmed weekly close below $1.13, which so far they have been unable to do. What should you actually be watching tomorrow? First and foremost, the weekly candle close. That is the metric that matters most for determining whether the current support structure remains valid. Second, Bitcoin's price action, specifically whether BTC can hold its recent recovery attempt or whether sellers take another run at it. Third, the 4-hour chart behavior around $1.13, because intraday action around that level will give you a read on where sentiment is sitting even before the weekly close becomes relevant. If you see XRP defending $1.13 on the 4-hour with buyers stepping in on each dip, that is a constructive sign. If you see the level getting touched repeatedly without any meaningful bounce, that is a warning sign worth respecting. Let me be honest with you about something else, because this is part of what XRP Financial Horizon is about. There is no analyst on the planet who can tell you with certainty what XRP is going to do on June 24th. Anyone giving you a precise price target as if it is guaranteed is either guessing or trying to sell you something. What good analysis does is give you a framework, the key levels, the conditions that would confirm one outcome versus another, and the variables that matter most. That is what we have done here today. You now know the level to watch, the conditions that would confirm a breakdown, the conditions that would suggest the support is holding, and the macro variable that sits above all of it. What you do with that framework is your decision, based on your own situation and risk tolerance. Every single time you come to XRP Financial Horizon, the goal is simple. Give you clear, grounded analysis with no hype and no doomsaying, just the chart and the context. Today's picture is genuinely uncertain, but uncertain is not the same as broken. XRP has survived tougher tests than this one, and the technical structure heading into June 24th, while under pressure, has not given up the ghost yet. Watch $1.13. Watch Bitcoin, watch the weekly close. Those three things will tell you more about where XRP is headed next than any prediction anyone can give you right now. If this breakdown helped you, drop a like on the video. It genuinely helps get this kind of honest analysis in front of more people who need it. Leave a comment below and tell me what you are watching most closely heading into June 24th. Are you holding your position? Are you watching from the sidelines? Or are you looking at this level as a potential entry? I read every comment and I want to hear where this community stands. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you catch the next update, because the next 24 hours are going to tell us a great deal about where XRP is headed over the coming weeks. This is XRP Financial Horizon. Stay sharp out there, and I'll see you in the next video.